Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for attending to this second Q&A session for the Open Innovation Factory. We hope that you are in a very advanced state now with your submission. You still have roughly 4 weeks to finish it till April the 10th. So that's like a super important deadline to keep 5 p.m. I wouldn't leave it to the last minute because anything can happen with IT. So please don't do it 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So start it a few days before that, please, just to make sure that the system is correctly saving everything. Because if you slip out of the 5 p.m. deadline, there is no possible appeal to get you there. And but on the other hand, the next deadline, or the next cutoff deadline for the Open Innovation Factory will be October the 21st. So if you decide not to submit now, we have another edition at the second half of the year. Antonio, if you would. Yeah, so just as a reminder, so EIT Digital's Open Innovation Factory is a funding scheme or a support program where we are supporting startups in a program that's exactly 6 months long, meaning it starts at the 1st of July and ends at December the 31st. It's available for startups who already have some kind of traction but are less than 3 years old, meaning they have been established as an organization no earlier than the 1st of January 2020. Again, this is a strict date, so there's no way we can accept companies even though they were established in, I don't know, December the 20th, 2019. So this is a hard cutoff. Only companies who have been established after the 1st of January 2020 are eligible to apply. So we offer up to 400,000 euros of financial support, and of course a bunch of other things like coaching, mentoring, training, access to our ecosystem. And in return, we are asking for at least 5.5% of equity, and it's you guys who are deciding or actually setting the amount of equity you are offering. Please don't offer anything above 10-12% because you are ruining your own cap table. So we will not accept that. Companies within the program, within the duration of the 6 months, must generate at least 10,000 euros of revenue as a proof that what they are doing is sound and has some real market need and solving a real market problem. You can step on.
So let's go to the questions, Dennis.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for the question that you have sent to the Q&A session. We have grouped them by different topics, and at the end of the activity, we will have an online session to answer questions that you can raise now during this session. So the first group of questions are related. If you have been in the previous Q&A, you will see that some of them are repeated because we are still receiving this kind of questions. So I think it's important that everyone has a clear answer about that. So the first topic is about the eligibility and general topics. So talking about the eligibility, you will see that if you go to the Open Innovation Factory cut of one specific document, there is a clear set of questions that are the eligibility gate for the companies. Then I'm not going to read all of them. You have in the document, but basically it's the maturity of the startup, that you have to be an early stage, less than 3 years startup, that you need to participate in a multi-country working team, so more than one partner, more than one country. The maximum amount that you can request is for the whole activity is 400K, and with the co-funding rate of 50% at least. So that means that if you ask for 400K, you need to be able to report a cost by 800K minimum. Then that the company needs to be a company that is investable. That means that the company is the owner of the IP or the owner of some trade secrets or some know-how that makes the company differentiate from others, and let the investor consider that the company can grow and can provide a return for them. And finally, the limit in the equity range that for this cutoff is between 5.5 and 12%. So those are the questions that will be reviewed for any of the proposal, and if the proposal does not cover any of the questions, they will be removed without the analysis by the selection process. Then we have some question about what is an ideal candidate, what is the area. So you know that we have this our strategic innovation agenda with the 5 areas, but one proposal has to cover these 4 dimensions that are also defined in the call document. The first one is to have a clear problem or opportunity that is clearly described, using deep tech. Sometimes we receive questions about how deep is deep tech. In general, what we expect is that the proposals are solved in a real case using some kind of advanced technologies. We are not thinking only in quantum computing, but using advanced technologies to solve the problem. And that there is generating or has some existing traction or very close to traction in the market. Things that are very positive regarding the market is if you have engaged with a customer and the customer is part of the proposal. If the customer is applying as a partner in the proposal, that is perfect. If the customer is engaged with all the solution, is perfect too, but it's important that you are close to have a customer. And then, as I mentioned before, that the company has clear IP asset that makes that the company has something to sell and to grow in the future. Regarding the team, it's evaluated that the expertise on technologies or the entrepreneurial, having created other startup or being serial entrepreneurs, or at least to have a committed team that will work in the startup. And finally, because this model is a grant model, so you need to use the resource or to pay for the resources in advance, and then you will be reimbursed in the future. We need to understand how do you plan to fund these resources during the activity time frame. And in the case that you have engaged with a customer that is willing to co-participate with EIT Digital and to enter money in the company, even in a conditional mode, it's very possible that you can apply with an investor that commit to put the money in the company if the proposal is selected, in that case reducing its risk. That is, it makes the proposal stronger. So those are some dimensions that are in the call document and define what is a good proposal. Another question that we are receiving is, Dennis mentioned that the company needs to be the main startup or the business champion needs to be registered after January 2020 or later. And that means that we need, if we ask, we need to have an evidence. It's not required initially, but if it's asked for, you need to provide an equity that is an documentary equity of this registration. Depending on the countries, this registration can be in different ways, but it's clear that the company has to provide that document showing that it was officially prepared to work in 2020 or later. The rest of the partners are not concerned by these questions, so they can be in any maturity, even if they are startups. If only the startup that is the business champion, that is the one that is going to provide equity to EIT Digital, needs to cover that. Can be another startup that is older, and they can participate in the program. If you have any very specific question about when is this the registration date for the company, then I think it's better that you ask with us, being ready to show the documentation that applies. Then another question that is very common, several times I have answered in the last weeks, is if you need to be a partner before the submission. And the question is that the answer is that all partners that are included in the proposal must apply for the partnership. So you have to go to the system, apply for the partnership, and then give some basic data about the company, the location and the name of the company and basic data. And with that, you will receive a partner code that allows to enter the information in the submission system. Without this partner code, you cannot enter, you cannot be considered a partner in the proposal. But if the proposal is selected, all partners must complete the partnership, must pay the partnership fee that will give the right to participating in the EIT Digital program and other services. So that is mandatory if you are selected. But if the proposal is not selected, you can decide to continue with the partnership because you are interested in other EIT Digital service, maybe access to talent, other things with education or whatever service, or you can withdraw the initial pre-application. If you don't do nothing, we will not progress with the partnership. So it's not that if you don't answer in some time withdrawing, you will become partner. No, you need to do an active submission of documentation to become a partner. So a quick answer: you need to apply for partnership to enter the proposal. You don't need to complete the partnership if you are not selected. The next one is how can I find a suitable partner, because you know that the partner, secondary partner, needs to be in another country. It can be 3 or 4 partners, but at least they have to cover 2 partners, 2 countries. In general, we had the matchmaking tool where we enter all players or companies interested in finding a partnership with what they are looking for or what they are offering. Initially, the matchmaking tool was planned to finish last week, but we are going to extend this week. If you still are looking for a partner, please enter the information there, and we will try to, in the matchmaking tool, we will try to connect with another partner. I have to advance that this is not always successful. Sometimes we find a partner that is looking for a complementary one. In other times, we will not find this complementary partner, but we try, and this is the best thing to do. Also, you can contact with our ecosystem team or with the OIF, Open Innovation Factory contact, to try to receive some help, but not always we can find the complementary partner. We have received some questions about where are the physical location of EIT Digital to receive some support. We have 23 offices now in Europe. One of the questions specifically was for our presence in Romania. And now we have an office in Cluj-Napoca, and there is we will share the presentation at the end and the recording. It will be both things. It will be in our web page, Open Innovation Factory. But here answering this specific question about Romania, I have added the person there that is the ecosystem lead for Romania, is in Cluj-Napoca. But you can see that we have a wider ecosystem covering all Europe. Another question, can we add a partner only by the name, but it is not allocating budget? And this is not possible. All the partners need to declare some budget in the proposal. That means that they are going to work in the project. It's not mandatory that they receive EIT funding. In fact, it's common that in some activities there are partners that are only providing what we call co-funding. They are using their own resources to work, but they are not interested in the part of the funding, especially for bigger corporates that for some of them is the partnership process, not the partnership, the grant process can be a bit complex. So they decide that they participate as partners, but they are not receiving EIT funding. But in that case, what the proposal can do, it can distribute the EIT funding and the co-funding or the funding that is supported by the own partner by their own, can be distributed in a different way. Not all of them need to be 50 and 50. They can be in a different way as far as the total amount in the proposal is covering this minimum or maximum EIT funding of 50% of the total cost to be reported. It's important in that case to confirm that the partners need to become partners and to pay the partnership fee, but all of them need to allocate some effort in the proposal. Also, we have received a question about the success rate of applications. There is not an objective on that, but we can confirm that in the last cutoff in the previous one, we're about 50 proposals and 8 were selected, and the previous one was a bit less than 50 and 8 were selected. So this can give you a taste of the probabilities of success. I would say that the better quality the proposal is, the most probable is that it is selected. You know that Dennis explained that you need to achieve some KPIs. Especially important is the KPI related with the commercial traction that is showed by the evidence of invoices of 10Ks. If you don't achieve these KPIs, or the delivery is very low quality, or there are some restrictions about the co-brandings and others, in that case, it can happen a reduction in the grant amount. I have to say that this is not very common, because we work with you to be sure that everything is on the right quality regarding the deliverables, and with the part of the commercial traction. In general, we expect that your proposals have a clear evidence that you are very close to this traction. So we don't expect that. But if in a very bad case this would happen, there could be a reduction of the grant. And it's important to clarify that if there is a grant reduction because of the very low quality of the delivery, this does not change the equity percentage promised. We have received some questions regarding the internal structure and how the activity leader coordinates with the other partners. And it's important that it's not only in the proposal, it's not only adding a partner, adding a partner in the list and that's all, and forget about that. It's important that you clarify internally what each partner is going to do, what roles and work are the commitments in the innovation activity. The contractual structure in the program is supported by the general structure for EIT Digital. That means that we will have direct contracts with each of the partners, and then the payments will be done by EIT Digital directly to each partner. So we will not pay to the activity leader later they have to pay to the other partners. Everything will be directly to each of the partners participating. And we received some question about if it's needed a consortium agreement. In general, it is not needed. At least we, EIT Digital, we don't require something, a contract between the partners. It's something that can be, is flexible for us. And it's the decision of the partner how they formally organize themselves. So we will not enter in the internals of the activity, and we will not act as an arbitrator if the partner is doing well or bad. It's something that you need to clarify and to structure internally in the activity. Then we have some question about the budget and the funding. We are receiving some questions that we will answer at the end of the ones that were provided before. We have received some questions about what are the eligible costs, and you have that information in the intranet when you connect. But in addition, here is a summary, and basically the costs that are eligible that we will reimburse up to 50% of them are the cost of personnel that are all employees in the companies, are contractors. It's important to clarify that contractors that are people directly contracted by the company but not under an employee contract are personnel and are not subcontracting. I will explain now. Then there are other options that like seconded person by a third party. That this happens with, in general, it happens in group companies where you are in a company but you work for another one, and then you are like a contracting in that like a employee in that company, but actually you are an employee of the first one. And in that case, there are some rules that you have to cover. And finally, for the owners of the company that are not employees, that are especially the founders, in that case, it's a special case because the founders are not, in many cases, they are not receiving money from the company. They are working in the company just because the ownership. In that case, the Horizon Europe rules allow to use a standard cost that is depends on the country. It's a variable. It's actually 282 euros per day multiplied by a correction rate depending on the companies. That it goes from 160 or 170 to 325 depending on the labor cost in the country. But the good thing about that is that the company does not need to cash out this payment. It is a theoretical one, but can report it. So the work of the founders is supported in this, is partially funded by the EIT grant. Then you have the possibility of subcontract companies. In general, this is not the most desirable model, but it's possible that in that case you subcontract a company. It's important that you follow some rules about transparency. It's not that you can subcontract whoever you want. You have to apply some rules to guarantee that you are obtaining the best value for the money, or you are getting the cheapest solution that was available for you. It's important to distinguish between the subcontracting case, that is when you subcontract a company to build the product. For example, if you need to subcontract a software company to complete one part of your product, this is subcontracting. If you are contracting a company that is a complementary service, this is included in purchase cost in the next chapter, that is about things that you need to purchase. For example, that includes travel or subsistence. The equipment is an equipment that is an asset of your company. You can only include the depreciation during that time. Or if you are buying small things like sensors or something like that, is allowed to use the full cost of this. equipment. And now it's very common that you use cloud services, and the cloud services that are used specifically for the activity, they can be considered as equipment cost. In the case of, I mentioned that other services that are needed for the company, that, for example, if you need a marketing agency to extend or for some support, or you need participation to participate in a fair and trade fair, or to hire a booth in a fair or something like that, this is included in the C3 other goods, works and services, or legal services for the transfer of the equity to EIT Digital. That is part of the activity, can be included as other goods and services. Finally, the last one, that is a very special case, but can happen in some cases, that is when a third party is contributing for free. That happens with, especially with big corporates in some cases, that they want to provide some support. Then they can do it, and then this cost can be reported by the startup. But it's a very special case, so my recommendation is that you could, if you are planning to use this cost, that you check with us about the case. I will add this. This is about the founder cost that I explained. That is, but this is the most common question coming from the founders. And it's important to understand that this applies to the owner, the shareholders in the startup, that are shareholders during the activity, that are not employees. So they cannot have they can have a management contract, but not an employee contract. They are working here only because in the company, because there is the interest, the value of the company. And as I mentioned, there is a standard rate that we can clarify for any of your countries if you need that. And in that case, because this cost will not be included in your company accounts, it's important that you need to be sure that you have a declaration of the work that has been done by these owners, or by these founders in the activity. You don't need to provide this documentation to EIT Digital in the Innovation Factory, but you need to keep that just in case you are asked later by the auditors. And for all those costs, there are not only for this owner founders cost in the previous one, or for all personal cost, all purchase cost, but not for subcontracting. And additional 25% of indirect cost is added that you don't need to report, and you don't need to use it. So it's like for a startup, it's like a small margin for you to do other things. One clarification, because I have seen some cases where you involve some people that are working in the company by the ownership of the company, but they are based on future stock options. In that case, this is not current ownership of the company, so this is not valid to be considered as a founder or as a owner of the company. So you can use that cost for the founders or the owners of the company that are shareholders in that moment. Question about how permanent the budget is, if they can be modified later. Indeed, it's possible to modify the budget distribution with some restriction. The first one is that you have to ask to EIT Digital, because we need to be sure that the new structure is aligned with what was approved in the proposal to achieve the objectives. So it has to be a reason, but in general, this is possible. And it's possible to change between ledgers. So if you don't have to travel, you can move the cost from travel cost to personal, for example. Or if you need you cannot get an employee and you hire a contractor, you can move from different types of cost. As far as you keep the maximum EIT funding, and the maximum that was in your proposal, not the 400K. So you cannot extend it. Your proposal included 200K of EIT funding, and you cannot move that up to the 400K. The limit is the EIT funding that was in your proposal. And the co-funding rate must be the same or higher. So you can use more resources on your own, but you cannot reduce the rate that we are reimbursing. So if we are reimbursing 50% or 45% in some case, you cannot change the budget to receive 50% of the cost. So it's something that needs to be kept. The changes between partners only can be done during the activity time frame. So it's something that we can do in the middle of the activity, but at the reporting time, you cannot do that because the budget is allocated to each partner. It is possible to have some adjustment between late years. For example, if the cost reporting was smaller in personnel but was higher in purchasing, you have to explain that, but that is possible even at the reporting time. But not between partners. It's something that you need to adjust before the end of the activity. One question is, what happens if not all budget is used? This is important because we are asking for that budget to the EU. So it's important that you use all the budget that has been allocated to your proposal. But if it's possible, if you think that you are not going to be able to spend or to use all the resources that you planned at the beginning, it can be reduced the budget. In general, what we do in that case is that we need to keep the co-funding rate to reduce the budget. In some case, if that has been caused for a lack of management or let's say a big problem with the management of the project, it can be probably a reduction of the grant. This is not common because it's something that we work with you closely. But the reduction in the budget or the spending in the final report will not change the equity percentage. That is important. So it's something that if you reduce the budget, you will be penalized in the sense that you are providing the same equity to EIT Digital, even you will receive a bit less grant. So those are questions that we have received related with the budget. There are some questions about the equity and the sustainability for EIT Digital. The idea about around this equity that we will receive from the startup is that the EIT Digital is a non-profit organization that is supporting the innovation ecosystem in Europe. And the way that it has been structured is that it has to generate a kind of sustainable circle. And the idea of that is that the participation in the equity of the startup is the way that the EIT Digital will have to share the success of the startup that we are supporting. If you are successful, the value of the EIT Digital equity will be larger, and then we can reinject that in the innovation ecosystem in Europe. If finally the company does not success, okay, it will be the same that the other founders, that they lose the money that they invested in the company, and that's also is a way to share the success. And the idea is that the proposal has to provide one number that is the specific equity promise, and this should be in some way aligned. It's not a hard valuation of the company, but it's something that has to be aligned with the current maturity or valuation expectations for the company. In fact, this is a competition between the companies in the call. So one company that is the same expectations about like other company, but is offering a bit more equity, then it will be in advantage to be selected. There is a limit, as we mentioned, that is minimum 5.5%, maximum 12%. The maximum is stated because we consider that EIT Digital is a passive investor, and we don't want to be in having a very big stake in the company. It's better we have work with the investors in the market, and we know that this is the right range for EIT Digital to be being a passive investor. The other question that is very common, and I have seen also in the questions today, that is if we receive equity in all the partners, only in the startup, only what we call the business champion, the venture that is boosted, has to be early stage, and it's the only one that has to provide the equity in the proposal. The rest of the partners, they don't need to transfer equity. And one clarification is that this equity percentage is based on the cap table at the beginning of the activity in the proposal. So if the additional capital is issued by the startup in the meantime for other investors, this percentage is recalculated. It's not that it will be 8% and then the company grows and then it's still 8%. No, this is calculated at the beginning of the proposal. Then we have some questions related with the process. The first one is how the selection process works. I think it's very detailed in the call document, but a quick summary is that the process is quite transparent. So we receive all the proposals following the same rules. There is a team of experts that has to check everything. The first filter is by EIT Digital experts. That is where our team will check the eligibility question that we have seen at the beginning. Is the registration date is after 2020? Let's go to the next step. If the registration date is 2016, then we will remove at that filter. But this is a go-no-go filter. Then we have the review gate with the external expert that you can see the questions in the cutoff document. You can see the question that the external expert will answer based on your proposal. The external experts are experts in innovation and with in general investor profile. So they will check if your proposal is something that is attractive for the market, for putting there the public money. So they will evaluate these questions that are following the criteria of excellent, impact, and the implementation assessment. For the proposals that are over the threshold that is established in the cutoff one document, they will go to the next step. The next step is the MCS Management Committee of EIT Digital Management Committee. And there, the committee is not re-evaluating the part of the excellence of the proposal. What is looking at different set of questions that are aligned with the strategic alignment with the EIT Digital objectives and the financial sustainability. So the equity proposed comparing with the expectations for the company. And if the company is doing something that is aligned with the EIT Digital mission. Then the questions are also in the cutoff document, and they are answered by the MC, the management committee members in EIT Digital. Then for some companies that are over the new threshold, there will be due diligence interviews, that is to clarify any outstanding point with the EIT Digital management committee. It's a question and answer model. The companies has to provide a very short pitch and then answer questions that are asked by the EIT Digital MC management committee members. And then after that, there is a re-evaluation of the proposal that went to the final filter, and with this final scoring, then they will be selected or rejected. For all the proposals in the process, both for the ones that are selected and the ones that are rejected, they will receive extensive feedback based on all this evaluation process. Then we have some question that is if we have another call for 2020. I think Dennis advanced that, but the Open Innovation Factor is for the whole year. But we are now in the cutoff one with the deadline of April 10th, and the execution timeframe will be from July 1st to December 31st. And there will be another cutoff two that can have a slightly different cutoff to a specific document with slightly different questions or some small variations, but in general, the code will be the same or very similar. And it will be, the info session will be in September 5, and the deadline is October 21. And the execution time frame will be in the first half of 2025. We have some question that what are the next steps if the proposal is selected? In this case, we are the process. I have avoided in this scheme the selection process. Then for proposals that are selected, they will be communicated at the beginning of June. I think it's about 8th of June. And it's expected that they start in July 1st. This start means because we are supporting companies that are already there, so we are not creating new projects. This is a venture boost program that we are supporting a startup there. So the point is that the eligibility date for the cost of the company that they are using the proposal is July 1st. In general, for those companies selected, in the first or second week of July, we will have the general kickoff. That will be a meeting with the Open Innovation Factory team, explaining all the internal process for the 6 months. And after that, this is general for all the activities selected. And after that, we have a set of individual kickoff with each of the companies to understand better each of the proposals or activities at that time that will be it will happen with individually with them to understand the plan, to understand what are the objectives, and to give specific advice for those companies. This advice will happen and the follow-up every month with the Open Innovation Factory team and the ecosystem support. Then after that, we will start with the administrative processes. That includes the partnership, as I mentioned, that is to provide some documentation about the company, to provide the bank certificate from the company, to pay the partnership invoice. And then when the partnership is there, the grant contract will be issued. And then you have to sign the grant contract. And with all this administrative process has finished, that normally it takes, we try to do it in 1 month, but normally it takes a bit more than 1 month. And then we release the first 10% of the pre-financing. And then we will start for the 6 months. This is the next step. So next step is receive the selection communication and the kickoff of the activity and complete administrative processes to receive the first pre-financing. And then we will have the rest of the execution. And the final question was about, is a bit general question about the EIT Digital and the life cycle of support of startups. And then this is the standard model for EIT Digital, that is a continuous between the education in innovation and technologies, going through the creation of a startup where we have different programs, the venture program, the venture building, etc. And then we are in the phase of acceleration where we have the Open Innovation Factory, that is to support companies that has been already created. In the previous one, we are helping even to create the companies, and the Speedmaster course that is mandatory for all the selected activities, all the selected projects. And then we have later a growth services team that helps with the access to finance, to extend in Europe, to land in the US. So we have a continuous model between the initial education to the growing to be a unicorn or to be at least a significant company in the industry. With that, this was the last question that we received. And then we can go to the question that we have received in the chat today. So I can see. I start for there. Okay, the first one is about the I think I have been answered, that is if there are two entities applying, only one, that is the business champion, is the one that has to provide equity. So it's the second one does not need to provide equity, but it will receive funds. How do you imagine an application? Would it be sort of joint venture between applicant companies? No, I would say that the application usually is one company that is the venture boosted, the startup that is going to be supported, that is going to provide equity, complemented with some, let's say, complementary partners. In general, we expect that most of the funds goes to the startup because it's the one that will be mainly supported by the program, but it can be, this startup is joined by these complementary partners. What kind of complementary partners we have seen? We have seen partners that can work with the technical development. We have seen partners that can help with the analyzing the market approach, or we have seen partners that are helping analyzing the market approach for one specific country that is different from the one where the startup has been born, and then it's like an option to go to the next country. We have seen partners that are universities that are helping with the scientific support to the company, and then they are doing their own job and their own publications about the topic. So I wouldn't say a joint venture between two companies both interested in being supported. It's one startup that is complemented by additional complementary partners. Can you confirm that the need for partners to register and log in with the partner number is new? It was not the case in the previous call, right? No, this has been always the same, because if you don't have a partner number, you cannot enter the information in the submission system. So it has been always the same for many years. Otherwise, you cannot enter to the intranet to go to the submission system. So it's not new. It's something that has been here for many years. Do you get shares from both companies? No, only for the startup. The same. Is there any percentage limit for partners? I understand that is. I understand the percentage between the distribution between partners, and there is not a limit for that. It's something that we have seen different approaches, and then the partners can split the funding the way they want. The only thing is that in general, we expect that a significant part goes to the startup, to the business champion. But we have some cases where the startup is heavily supported by other partners, and then the distribution is different. So it's nothing that is not restricted in the system, in the model. What do we explain in out for EIT Digital sustainability mechanism? This is the output for EIT Digital sustainability mechanism is the equity transfer. So you don't need to explain a lot of things. It's only to describe that you plan to issue new share for EIT Digital following the promise that you are adding in the proposal. So it's nothing to explain. If you want to clarify something about the structure of the equity, you can enter there, but it's nothing that we expect, nothing very special. In which section should we describe deliverables? These are details question about the submission system. in output or deliverable sections. You can describe, the deliverables are described in the deliverable section, but the deliverables are the documents that you are providing. In general, what you are doing is in the output section. You are doing a solution, a software solution to do something, you describe in the output section. In the deliverable, what you describe is the structure of the document that will explain that output. For example, in the deliverable, you can describe that this document will contain the technical architecture, the infrastructure needs, and the whatever, the cloud services that you are going to support. But the deliverable section describes what the document will have, and the output section is what you are going to provide. I hope that this is clear. Let me see more questions. Is it mandatory to submit an EIT Digital branded video at the end of the project? Yes, it's mandatory. It's one of the deliverables, but this is co-branded video. It's a co-branded video that is it's not nothing very complex. It's something where you explain and show something about your solution. And then it's only that it's co-branded. They start with the EIT Digital and your video, your branding at the beginning. You have to describe that. At the end, you need to enter that plus the EU-funded logo. But it's simple. We don't expect nothing extremely complex there. EIT Digital Partner Subscription is needed before we can apply. Being an equity portfolio company makes us an EIT partner. No, it's not the same. You are Shivan, you are an equity portfolio company because you participated in another program, in the venture program. So you have already provided some initial equity in that program to EIT Digital, but you need to apply, not to finish the subscription as in any other case. You need to apply and to receive an EIT Digital partner code to enter in the intranet. What is the responsibilities of the partner company? This is what I mean. I meant before that this is if you have a partner company, the partner company is there because this program is an pan-European program, so it's something that is required by the program, and then this partner company can have the responsibilities to comply with what they have agreed in the proposal. And so there are some responsibilities or objectives there for this partner, and then the responsibilities to deliver what they promise. But they will receive some funds, and what we expect is that this participation provides some value to the business champion, to the startup. Are you getting shares from the champion or both companies? Only from the champion. After application, if my company valuation goes from 10 million to 25 million, what would be happen? The first thing is that if the company, I understand that it's an example because one company that is already evaluated in 10 million, it's difficult that this program fits with them because if they are receiving up to 400,000 and then they have to provide more than 5% equity, this will be valuation of about 8 million. But let's take the example. The example is that when you apply for the proposal, suppose that let's take those numbers, 10 million, and then you propose to 5% to have or 10% to have an example. In that case, you are proposing that you are going to provide 10% of 10 million of the company, and what you have to understand is how many shares you have in your company. If you have 1,000 shares and you propose that EIT Digital will receive 5%, that means 50 shares in the countries where the shares are individuals. But it's the same in some other countries where there are not individual shares and there are share capital in the sense. In that case, if your company, you go to an investor and you the valuation, new valuation is 25 million, you promise to EIT Digital, I don't know, in the example I put 50 shares. 50 shares are for EIT Digital. And the new investor will require to issue new shares. And suppose that you issue another 100 shares for the new investor. In that case, the 50 shares of EIT Digital will be diluted in value. That will be diluted in percentage, but will be increased in value because the valuation has gone from 10 to 25. So in general, what you have to promise is based on the picture at the beginning of the activity. And after that, if there are new changes, EIT Digital will be diluted the same as the initial founders. That is, so it's not that we will change with the new evaluation. It will be based on the picture at the beginning of the activity. And I think I have covered all the questions that we have received at just at the. I think we don't have more. No. Let me check if we have something in the chat. In the chat we have something, but it's no, it's only the. So in that case, I think we have covered the objective of the Q&A. You have the Open Innovation Factory email to continue the contact. You have your ecosystem lead contact closer to you in the multiple countries where EIT Digital is present. So any question, you can reach us in any case, and we will try to solve. There are only 3 weeks, a bit more than 3 weeks to the deadline. So if you are thinking in applying, take the last actions. I encourage you to do it. It's not a lot of work to apply, and the reward can be interesting for you. I don't know if Dennis is there. You want to say something else, or? If not, I think with that, Orana, you have any comment or something? No? If not, with that, we have finished the second question and answer. In 2 days, the slides and the recording will be uploaded in our webpage of Innovation Factory, and you can check anything again there. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you. Bye.